I was going to say good morning, but it's good afternoon, and it's that time again for our hearings to occur, and this is the Committee on Water and Land. Just some housekeeping announcements. We will, for those testifiers, which also includes those on Zoom, we ask that you stand on your written testimony or limit your oral testimony to 2 minutes. The live and archival video of this hearing can be found on the Senate's YouTube channel. Decision-making will follow after the hearing is done, and this is the hearings from the testifiers as well as the item agendas on the hearing notice. Mahalo, committee members, for being here. We will have more coming in on our busy schedule. And just to let you know, with regards to the Waterland hearing on Friday, March 7th, we're in room 229. We will be taking all of the resolutions. First, we do have 3 nominees on the governor's messages. Will follow. Okay, members, let's proceed with SCR 3. This is authorizing the issuance of a perpetual non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Mauna Lua, Honolulu, Oahu, for the stormwater management outfall and the drainage system for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereon. DLNR, I think I got Rebecca here. Yes, come on down. Welcome. It's good to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair and Senator McKelvey. Rebecca Anderson with the Department of Land and Natural Resources. The department supports this administration measure. We're asking for one clarifying amendment to the title of this resolution, just to specify that the resolution is, that the easement requested will be granted to the city and county of Honolulu.
Okay, and so ordered in your testimony as well.
That's correct.
On the recommendation.
That's correct.
Yes, thank you. Members, any questions of DLNR right now on Rebecca? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay, Russell Tsuji, are you on Zoom?
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, well represented by Rebecca. Okay, then we will proceed with, is there anyone else wishes to speak to SCR 3? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, let's proceed on to SCR 4, and this is authorizing the issuance of a 25-year term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Kiki'aolakekaha, Hawai'i, for a shoreline protection structure and for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereof. Rebecca, are you on this one as well?
Yes, Chair. The Rebecca Anderson, Department of Land and Natural Resources, the department stands in support of this administration measure.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. On Zoom, Graham Chelius?
Not present, Chair.
All right, send a communication in support of this measure. Is there anyone else wishes to speak on SCR 4? Any questions, members? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, let's proceed to SCR 5, this authorizing the issuance of a 25-year term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Waikiki, Honolulu, Oahu, for concrete stairs and for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereon. Okay, DLNR.
Good afternoon, Chair. Rebecca Anderson with DLNR, standing on our testimony in support of this administration measure.
Okay. And no amendment recommendations.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, is there anyone else to speak on this measure? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, let's proceed to SCR 6, and this authorizing the issuance of a 25-year term, non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Eva Beach, Eva Oahu for a seawall and for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereon. Okay, DLNR.
Good afternoon, Chair. Rebecca Anderson with DLNR, and the department stands on our written testimony in support of this administration measure.
Okay, similarly, no amendments on this measure as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, is there anyone else wishes to speak to SCR 6? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll proceed with the last recommendation for DLNR. This is SCR 7, and this authorizing the issuance of a 25-year term, non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Laie, Ko'olaoloa, Oahu for a rock revetment that includes stairs and for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereon. Okay, DLNR.
Rebecca Anderson with DLNR. The department stands in support of this administration measure.
Okay, similarly, no recommendations for amendments on this measure as well. Okay, anyone else here wishing to speak on SCR 7? Members, questions? Okay, hearing none. Members, why don't we do this because we have DLNR here, we'll proceed with our GM. So let's take a vote on this measure. We got a quorum, so,
Yeah, we did.
okay. Thank you.
Afterwards.
Yes. Okay. All right. We're continuing on decision-making for the items that are on the Waterland hearing of Friday, March 7th. We'll proceed with the DLNR measures. Members, SCR 3, and this is the authorizing the issuance the easement for a portion of the submerged lands at Mauna Lua, Oahu. Chair's recommendation on this is the recommendation is to incorporate the amendments from DLNR, and this is amending the title of this measure to accurately reflect the fact that the requested easement is to be granted to the city and county of Honolulu for its public infrastructure. And as recommended by DLNR, we'll also have technical and non-substantive amendments on this measure. Any discussions? Okay, hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments SCR 3. Chair Inouye.
Yes, aye.
Okay, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator DeCourt is excused. Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. 1 second. I was going to do the by one vote, but we have a change on one of the SCRs.
Yeah, we just did that
Okay,
one, so we can vote the rest out.
let's proceed with SCR 4, and this is the authorizing the 25-year term for the non-inclusive easement on the submerged lands at Kiki'aola, Kekaha, Hawai'i for shoreline protection. Chair's recommendation that this is to pass this measure as is. Any discussion?
Chair, real quickly,
Senator McKelvey.
yeah, this only has to do with a bill coming up, but always had a lot of concerns with seawalls and using walls as hardening. However, these rezos are to repair existing structures, especially since they provide public access. So I am going to support them, but just to note, I am going to go WR on SCR 6 because of that. But I'm going up on this one.
Okay, but this is on 4.
Yeah, correct, but
All right.
it's a
Thank you.
blanket thing for everything.
Thank you so much. All right, and this also is,
Repair.
the issue as well also affects Maui in many areas.
It's a repair of
Yes.
existing structure. so-
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure as is. Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SCR 4 unamended of the 3 members present on Waterland. Any no votes or votes or reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. SCR 5, and this authorizing a 25-year term as well, covering the portion at Waikiki, Honolulu, Oahu, Chair's recommendation is to pass just with the amendments. There's technical and not substantive amendments on this measure. Any discussion? Hearing none. Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SCR 5 with amendments. Chair Noy.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang's excused. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Madam Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. SCR 6, this is authorizing a 25-year term covering the portion at Eva Beach, Eva Oahu for seawall and for use and repair. Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure as is. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye, and we do have our additional, thank
Yes,
you,
yes.
Samantha
West
Decourt
Side is
from West Side here.
Yeah. Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SCR 6 unamended, right, Chair?
Yes,
SCR 6 unamended of the 4 members present, noting the reservation of Senator McKelvey. Any other reservations? Any other no votes?
No vote for me.
No vote for Senator Decourt. Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
okay, thank you. SCR 7, and this authorizing the 25-year term covering the lands, submerged lands at Laie, Ko'olaua, Oahu. Chair's recommendation on this measure is to pass as is unamended. Okay, any discussions? Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SCR 7 unamended of the 4 members present. Any no votes? No vote for Senator Decourt. Any votes or reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you, DLNR. Rebecca, all right, let's proceed then with the second half of our great agenda today. We're going into the governor's appointees, and we welcome our agency, and this one is with regards to HCDA as well. And let's proceed with GM 558, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawai'i Community Development Authority. And this particular district is the representation at Kalailoa District, and the nominee is Gerald Gordner for a term to expire June 30th, 2026 as well. And yeah, okay, there he is. Okay, testifiers, HCDA.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Craig Nakamoto, Executive Director for the Hawai'i Community Development Authority. I wholeheartedly support the nomination of Gerald Gordner. In Mr. Gordner's short time on the board, with his urban planning background and his background in housing and related areas, he's been an invaluable resource to the board, even in that short time, and to the staff. As an interim board member, Mr. Gordner has been really eager to learn about HCDA in general, about housing, reserve housing program, and just about the Kalailoa Community Development District in general. It is often challenging to find board members who are willing to volunteer their time at no compensation. So I'm grateful to have a board member like Mr. Gordner serving as the resident member for Kalailoa, resident community representative. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I'd like to also commend you, Mr. Nakamoto, for allowing Craig, allowing the nominees even prior to the confirmation process, that you're allowing, once the appointment is done by the governor, that you're allowing members to sit on the board and get their feet wet. And I think that's a good idea. By the time they come to us, if they want to continue, After hearing and participating, just seeing what HCD, what the authority does at your meetings. So I commend you for, allowing them to do that as well.
Thank you, Chair.
Get their feedback. Do you have a member of your office here? Why don't you?
I have Member Gardner online.
Yes, I know. No, I was wondering if she was,
Oh, no.
she was your,
Our main director is our board secretary, so I just wanted to introduce her.
that was nice, because we don't get to see them
We don't
often.
get to see the board
Okay,
secretary.
welcome, at least. Also get your feet wet knowing what we're doing here with all that you folks do as well. Okay, thank you. And you're gonna be here till the end, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, prior to me calling the nominee, I'd like to go on. We did receive testimonies, and we did receive from DBED, James Tokioka, communication in support, and Josh is here for Holomua Collaborative.
Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, I'll keep my testimony short. I'll mostly just stand on the testimony that we have in support. I'll just underscore the part where I've gotten the chance to work with Mr. Gordner for the past couple of years, focused on a lot of the housing-related work. As a reminder, I'm the executive director of Holomua Collective and Collaborative. Our mission is to try to keep all local working families in Hawaii by making sure they can afford to stay. And of course, housing is a critical component of that. So we've had a lot of discussions around housing. And the thing I would underscore about Mr. Gordner is that in those discussions, and he's been involved in a lot of them, not only has he brought technical expertise, deep understanding of zoning, everything he does is data-based, evidence-based, but he's also paired that with a real ability to work across lines of difference, listen to people who might have a different take on things, and focus on finding collaborative solutions. And you don't always find those two things together, the person who's really data-driven and the person who has really high emotional intelligence, and you've got that with Mr. Gordner. I think that would be a big benefit to HCDA. So
Thank
I'm happy
you.
to support him. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments as well. Damien Waikoloa, in support, we did have, we received from Pacific Resource Partnership in support, Ian Tirayama, and we had three support from John Rogers, Justin Tyndall, and Ted Kefalas. Okay, all right. The man of the day, Gerald Gardner. Okay, aloha. How are you?
Aloha, Chair. I'm doing well, and thank you very much for allowing me to testify remotely. We have two sick kids at home, so I appreciate the opportunity to be on hand for a little bit more this afternoon.
Yes, just do the fatherly work. But isn't it wonderful that we can also do work at the same time with Zoom online? Yes, welcome, and as we have received the process from the governor and the director of HCDA and the testimonies, and we too would like to thank you for the opportunity that you're volunteering for this particular very important agency, looking at the process of developments and rather interesting, matter of fact, you're an overall person, and not only in your role that you will be representing the Kalailoa residents and the community as well. So share your thoughts about what you've already experienced attending the hearings, and we just, as you heard, and we all heard from Josh and the director, your experience is so important for this particular agency and the authority.
Yes, ma'am. I'd be happy to share about my experience so far. So I was an interim appointee, so I've had the opportunity to attend 2 meetings now. I attended, two separate days. I attended the 99-year lease administrative rules hearings, both the presentation and the decision-making, and attended the general authority, the latest general authority and Kalailoa district meetings. it's been I'm very excited. Really seems like Craig has assembled a great staff to work on housing issues and community development in all of the districts, including Kalailoa. Um, I've had the opportunity, the pleasure of meeting some of my fellow board members and learning about their interests and abilities. And I've even had the opportunity to submit some comments and to make some contributions to the administrative rules that I think will allow the pilot program that the legislature passed to operate that much better. So I think the members have seen my background. I'm an urban planner by training, a master's from Virginia Tech. I work as a policy researcher in housing affordability and disaster recovery at UHERO. That's the day job. And I have, been involved in housing issues in Hawaii for a couple of years now through the Holomua Collective and through, some advocacy efforts as well. Led the Hawaii Zoning Atlas. So I have a bit of technical ability in GIS, in mapping, and data analysis that I hope to bring to the HCDA board as well.
Thank you so much. And members, during my interview with Gerald as well, as we know, and in his role as still at the University of Hawaii and with the Economic Research Organization, but my question to him was sort of that had to do with Kalailoa. And my question to him, and perhaps our good friend Greg here, is that there is a bunker like at Kalailoa. And it's rather interesting because the development around that particular area under the University of Hawaii, but my understanding is that there's restrictions. Gerald, if you can share with us, when I asked you, there were restrictions on what would happen with an area like where the bunker is right now, and why is a restriction still being managed, or a recommendation when the transfer of the lands were given to the state, and then we in turn gave it to the university. But there were some restrictions only with that particular area. And if HCDA wanted to look at developments and whatever, I was kind of surprised that I read that there were some restrictions on that particular building, and I'm not sure if it's within a certain acreage or whatever, but can you share with us? And then Craig, come on up too. And you're with the University of Hawaii, Gerald, and then you're also, that's your district in coming in. Were you aware of that?
I know a little bit about it. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So I know that I believe you're speaking about the hangar that's owned by UH.
I did say a
It was in the
bunker, but it's
news.
the hangar, yes.
Yes, ma'am. It was in the news recently. I believe DHHL has proposed to use the hangar as a modular housing factory potentially, and they're asking for it to be transferred to them. I'm not familiar with the full context. I know of the, initial transfers. My understanding is that UH received that land originally with the understanding that it would be only used for educational and maybe one other category of purposes, but they actually paid to have that restriction lifted later. So that's as much as I know about that specific property. I'll turn it over to Craig with more
Sure.
of the institutional knowledge.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because I thought I understand that there were, for that particular area, there was still a recommendation by the military only for that particular parcel. Am I wrong, Craig?
So that hangar is, I think, on the airport, Kalailoa Airport area.
Yes.
Sorry, and it is being used right now, I think, by the city temporarily. There is an idea to have DHL use it as a modular, to construct modular homes. I don't know what the status of it and how Airports Division views that, but what I think Airports Division may have a concern about, and I don't want to speak for them, is you're kind of building, modular homes, doing construction in the hangar in kind of an airport operations area. And it didn't seem compatible with that if you think about the kind of traffic that comes through that area. So I'm not speaking for the DOT Airports Division.
Sure.
But I think there would probably be a concern about, using it for modular construction in an AOA.
And I think we all tend to, I would be concerned as well, because there's still runways, right? There's still the runways in case of emergencies as well. And I guess with the proposal that has not, my understanding, I'm sorry, we didn't have a DLNR people here as well, no formal process that DHHL has submitted yet. And I'm sure that it would involve, because it's part of the HCDA community development portion, so there's nothing there, but just in back of our minds, members, I thought I'd bring that up because, there's a request only and what we've heard, but I understand, I was here in the early 2000 when the military gave the property to the state. And that's when I was chair of Waterland at that time, and we divvied up that particular area to the university. Subsequent later during the years, I think, what year did you, HCDA, get the property?
I think it was about that time during the BRAC.
BRAC time.
2000, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, yeah, I think definitely, the idea of building modular homes to satisfy housing needs is a good one. Just not sure if it's
The inappropriate.
compatible with airport operations.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, any questions, members, of the nominee, GM 558, Mr. Gardner? Okay, I think we're all happy. Gerald, go take care of the little ones. And tell them drink a lot of water. Okay, thank you so much.
Very good.
All
Mahalo,
right.
Chair
Okay.
and Committee.
Members, let's then proceed with the next one on the agenda. Let's see. We got GM 559, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawai'i Community Development Authority, the nominee, Miki Ala Lidstone, for term to expire June 30th, 2027. HCDA.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Craig Nakamoto, Executive Director of HCDA. I stand in strong support of Ms. Lidstone's nomination as the cultural specialist. She replaces Peter Apo, who resigned last year. I want to just say something, personal about my observations about Ms. Lidstone. So she was first a small business nonprofit member of the Kalaeloa board. So she served in that capacity. As such, the only meetings she attended was Kalaeloa and the General Authority. We asked her to be a secretary of the board, and she willingly did that, even though it meant attending every meeting, even the meetings that she wasn't a Kalaeloa board member or General Authority board member. And this is despite running her learning center, being involved on the neighborhood board. One of the challenges we face as an agency to get small business nonprofit members, because we have a small business nonprofit member and a resident member. Oftentimes, the small business nonprofit members are so busy running their small business or their nonprofit organization that's challenging. But Ms. Lidstone has stepped up to do that, even though it means attending all meetings. And then when Peter Apo resigned, Ms. Lidstone was glad to serve as the cultural specialist. She's not only a cultural practitioner, runs a small business, but she's active in her community and really served as a invaluable resource to me and the board as a cultural specialist. So wholeheartedly support her nomination,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And members, this is the at-large position.
Yes.
So, okay, as well. Okay, we did receive testimonies in support for GM 559 as well from DBED, James Tokioka, Cheryl Burkhardt, and Shirley Sweeney in support as well. Okay, Ricky Allah, welcome. And I would say welcome back.
Aloha nui, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Aloha.
Okay. And well, we thank you for your contributions. And I'm sure it kind of just meets what you've been doing all these years in your occupations. But more importantly, when it comes to the cultural aspect of actually all of the agencies under, in most cases with DLNR, I can say that it's so important to have that added voice. And, you know, you've been on the board for some time now, and anything to add to how you're enjoying the time, make recommendations?
I want to thank Craig for asking me to step up to this position. I'm happy to serve. It's really actually a great honor. But more so, it's a great honor to learn and to learn more about these spaces within our community, and also from the testifiers, and many of our testifiers are Native Hawaiian testifiers, their perspective on what's occurring with these lands. And so it's been great to sit in the meetings. I'm glad that Craig suggested that I attend all of them, because I've learned a lot and I've listened a lot, and so I can process that and really understand and really look for balance within this.
Okay, members, any questions you'd like to share? Okay, all right. Good luck. And mahalo again, you know, for all that you have done in the communities. A matter of fact, and you know, to look at the districts that now compose HCDA, and more so from the west side of the island, where there are actually more areas of concern that are pretty much cultural sensitive. And so, and you coming from the region as well, you know, we appreciate your volunteering.
Mahalo.
Okay. Okay, let's proceed then, members, to the next GM. And this will be GM 688. And let's get to my paperwork here. What did I do with my calendar? You got, can I use yours? It's amongst my paperwork here. Okay, our last nominee for the agenda is GM 688, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the HCDA, and this is the district of Pulelehunui on Maui, and the nominee is Deborah Kabibi for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. Okay, HCDA.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Craig Nakamoto, Executive Director of HCDA. Speak in wholehearted support of Ms. Kabibi's nomination. When I look at the work that we have to do in South Maui in the Pulehunui district, almost approximately 988 acres. You know, obviously we're not based on Maui. We're based on Oahu, and to have members like Member Kabibi, Member Yamasaki, who is the business member representative, is invaluable. As we move on the Pulehunui infrastructure development, I think I'm going to lean very heavily on Member Kabibi and Member Yamasaki for their input on the community. What is the best way to reach out to the community for input and support for the infrastructure project. And both her and Member Yamasaki have indicated a willingness to help us in any way possible to kind of help us in the community. So I, again, wholeheartedly support her nomination.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we've also received 4 GM 688 testimonies from DBED as well, the Friends of the Children's Justice Center, Paul Tonninson, as well as the interesting, this came from Kapolei Chamber of Commerce, a friend, I guess, of our nominee here, Kieran Polk. We have 4 individuals, Grant Chan, Carol Davis, and a former senator, Gil Agaran, and of course, the late Glenn Yamasaki as an individual in support as well. Okay, good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members.
Okay. And if, I'm sure members, you all know as well, or some, that we have, Deborah has come from MEO, which is a very, very active agency on the island of Maui. But with that said, she's also a busy person. But we thank you as well, for your volunteering for this particular position. And it's, as, Greg said, and this new, I think this was the last so far of the new district, right, that was added to HCDA.
Latest so far.
Latest so far, yes, yes. And I believe, I think this was what, 2 years ago?
Correct.
Correct, okay, all right. Now, yes, and your busy schedule. So again, as the director did say, having a person in that position representing the island as well, it's important to sit on this body, representing the area.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to add how you've enjoyed the meeting so far?
Actually, I've enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I feel like I have a steep learning curve. I'm not I'm not an urban planner, and that's not my background, but I am a community organization. I do understand about engaging community, and I know that's my role. So I'm excited about that. It's a privilege to serve my community. I've been very active in many aspects, and I look forward to making a difference. I think out of some of the other boards and commissions I've sat on, what struck me with this group is it's very collaborative. There's a lot of conversation, and I don't feel like it's a rubber stamp. There's people asking good questions, and I feel people come to the meetings prepared, and that impressed me. As somebody who's very busy, I appreciate that.
Okay, great. That's the learning curve too. Yes, members, any questions you may have for Deborah as well? But Director, come on up. I have just for us with Pulihunui.
Sure.
Now, when I remember we gave you the oversight for that particular district, but now there are also different components near your HCD's portion. You have a neighbor, is HCD, no, this, our state housing project, are they still part of it next, around the area, or?
So,
And to add, is DHHL your neighbor as well?
yeah.
So you're gonna have lots of activity around.
There's going to be
Okay.
activity. I don't know if it's going to be like right away, but within the district, the biggest landowner is DLNR. DLNR owns a lot of that land. What DLNR plans to do is build industrial development, kind of as an employment center or workforce development across Veterans Highway, but not in our district. There's the land owned by the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and they're planning some development on their land. On DLNR land, what's proposed is the relocation of the Maui County Jail to there. What's also proposed, I heard recently, is the Veterans Affairs would like to locate their veterans home on DLNR land. Also, as part of our work, if we can, is to improve the infrastructure to the Maui Raceway Park, the racetrack. It's well used, it's very popular, and if you've ever been there, it's a kind of a dirt and gravel road going in, and it lacks a lot of infrastructure.
What, on whose land? The state portion?
I think that's county land.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and then there's other things planned for DLNR land, but the main thing is probably the relocation of the Maui County Jail, which is needed, and then the veterans home as well.
So for Pulehunui, what is so far the plans for the first, if you got to that stage yet?
We've gotten
Where are
to,
you?
yeah, I'll tell you where we are. So we had to encumber the money. So we encumbered the money before, we didn't want to let it lapse, so we encumbered the money. We have a design build contractor, Hawaiian Dredging, along with their subs, Munikio, Hiraga, Wilson Okamoto. They've done a planning assessment report for the district, and then we're working on a community outreach plan for the district as well. And that's the community outreach plan that once we kind of finalize it internally, then I want to share it with Member Kabibi and Member Yamasaki for their input, because they know the community. The next step is to have the Munikio and Wilson Okamoto folks engage with DLNR, DHHL, DCR, and others to understand what their needs are for their development, and then come up with kind of an infrastructure master plan and a community plan for the district. It will lay out what kind of infrastructure is needed, the timing, hopefully the priority and the cost. But in that area, I think the biggest infrastructure need above everything else is water. Water is the biggest need. We can't make it, and we just can't build it. So we have to, that's gonna be the biggest infrastructure need and the biggest challenge.
Okay, so that doesn't apply only to you then? So
No.
all the your neighbor landowners are the similar situation?
Correct.
So are we looking at a combination of creating some water wells, or are we going to probably, I know for DHHL lands, they gotta provide their own. So absent of that,
I think,
on our state land for the housing project, and we need to get water, so would that be probably connected with your project?
so DLNR is looking at has a water consultant right now, so they're looking at a source of brackish water that they may then filter to become potable. There's other things that we're looking at, maybe R1 water that can be used for fire suppression, irrigation. So, to solve the water situation, in the area, I think it's gonna have to be us, pulling many levers. The using R1, using brackish water that's filtered, and other kinds of things to solve the water issue.
Well, I'm glad, and for members too, because we rarely get to communicate with the chair on all the different projects, so it's a good time to get ourselves acclimated. Now, the amount of resources you had for the first contract, so where are you now? So do you have enough resources, funding for the major infrastructure portion?
I think that's yet to be determined. I think the contract amount.
How much did you get for
There
the
was
earlier?
64 million.
So you have 64
64
million that you use,
around.
but only for Pulehunui.
Only for Pulehunui.
Okay.
Now, I think to accomplish all the infrastructure needs for the district, I think it's going to require more than 64 million, and it's not the entire 64 million that we're using for construction. Some of it is contract managers and other consultants. But once we complete the planning, they identify the infrastructure needs and priorities and the costs, then we'll have to prioritize what's the most important thing we can do now with the funds we have. And then I think we have to seek legislative funding for the remainder. I don't think there's enough.
Okay, all right, questions for him? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because this is, this is a good time, to do the review of the agency as well and the newest project. And so, thanks for all you do as well.
Thank you.
Greg. Okay, all right, let's proceed. Members, we're ready for decision-making on staff recommendations. Okay,
Okay, fire away.
and by the way, Craig, and don't leave, you folks, our male partner on the Kalailoa, we're gonna miss you, but stay back just for a few members for picture taking, after the vote. Okay.
We gotta roll who's corner.
Okay, all right. Got you, okay. Let's proceed with GM 558 with regards to the confirmation of Gerald Gardner for a term to expire June 30th, and his confirmation is for the District of Kalailoa. Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 558. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to advise and consent on GM 558. Chair Inouye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you for GM 559, and this is the confirmation of Miki Ala Lidstone, and her term is June 30th, 2027 on this at-large position. Okay, any discussions? Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 559. Okay, hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendations to advise and consent on GM 559 of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes or reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay. GM 688, and this is the submitting for consideration, the confirmation of Deborah Kabibi, and this is for a district representation of Pule Hunui, a term expiring June 30th, 2028. Okay, Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 688 of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes or reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you so much, members, and good luck. This concludes the Water and Land Committee hearing.